You do not take a massive, overweight fighter into a knife fight in the sky. For decades, that rule governs air combat. Speed, climb rate, and elegance win dogfights. The lighter plane turns tighter. The sleeker aircraft survives. Every air force in the world believes this, especially Germany. The Luftwaffe prides itself on precision engineering and aerodynamic purity. Their Messerschmitt Bf 109s and Focke-Wulf 190s slice through the air like razors. So when American engineers roll out a fighter that weighs over 8 tons fully loaded, bristling with metal, fuel, and guns, the reaction is immediate. They laugh. It is too big, too heavy, too slow to turn. German pilots call it brutal, clumsy, and predictable. American pilots give it a darker nickname. They call it the flying coffin. Because when you look at the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt, you do not see grace. You see bulk. A barrel of an engine. A fuselage so thick it looks like it was carved from steel. A plane that, on paper, should be eaten alive by lighter Axis fighters. And everyone agrees on one thing. This plane should not survive combat. But in 1943, one man climbs into its cockpit and starts breaking every rule the enemy thought could never be broken. You are Francis Stanley Gabreski, 24 years old. Son of Polish immigrants. A farm kid from Oil City, Pennsylvania. You are not loud. You are not flashy. But you are relentless. By the time you arrive in England in early 1943, the air war over Europe is going badly. American bombers fly deep into Germany in daylight, believing tight formations and defensive guns will protect them. On missions to Schweinfurt and Regensburg, German fighters tear the bomber streams apart. B-17s fall from the sky in flames. Crews die by the hundreds. The Luftwaffe knows one truth. If they can kill the bombers, they can stop the invasion before it ever reaches the beaches. The Americans need a fighter that can escort bombers all the way to Germany and back. And this is where the P-47 comes in. On paper it looks absurd. It weighs nearly twice as much as a Bf 109. Its massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 engine produces over 2,000 horsepower, but that power comes with bulk. Pilots complain it climbs slowly. They say it handles like a truck. But Gabreski notices something others don't. At altitude, above 25,000 feet, this plane breathes differently. Its turbo supercharger keeps feeding the engine oxygen where German fighters begin to choke. And more importantly, the P-47 can dive faster than anything in the sky. What matters now is survival. And the bombers are dying. By the summer of 1943, you are flying with the 56th Fighter Group, commanded by Colonel Hubert Zemke, a man who understands what this plane can really do. He gives you one rule. Do not turn with the enemy. Do not dogfight. Hit hard. Dive fast. Climb away. Energy. Altitude. Violence. Because if you try to fly the Thunderbolt like a Spitfire, you will die. And now the Luftwaffe is waiting. The bomber stream stretches across the sky, silver dots glinting in the sun at 27,000 feet. You hear it before you see it. The low, constant roar of hundreds of engines. A sound that never stops. Your P-47 shudders lightly as you hold formation off the bomber's left flank. 8.50 caliber machine guns sit silent in the wings, loaded with 3,400 rounds of ammunition. Each gun fires 800 rounds per minute. You are carrying enough firepower to shred a locomotive. Then the call comes over the radio. Bandits. 2 o'clock high. You look up. Black specks. Then wings, then crosses. German fighters dive toward the bombers in tight formation. FW-190s. Fast. Armed with cannons that tear bombers apart in seconds. This is the moment where lighter fighters would turn and chase. You do not. You push the nose down. The Thunderbolt drops like a falling safe. The airframe screams as the speed builds. 400 miles per hour. 450. The controls stiffen, but the plane holds together. The Germans never expect this. You pass through their formation in seconds. You squeeze the trigger. The guns erupt. The sound is not a rattle. It is a continuous roar. A solid wall of noise. Tracers streak forward. A German fighter fills your windscreen. You see pieces come off it. Wing, canopy, engine cowling. The enemy aircraft snaps sideways and vanishes in smoke. You are already gone. You pull up hard. The Thunderbolt absorbs the stress. Where a lighter fighter would rip itself apart, this one holds. You climb back to altitude, slow and deliberate. Below you, bombers keep flying. This is how it works. Again, and again, and again. By August 1943, German pilots begin to realize something is wrong. Their cannon shells hit the Thunderbolt, and the plane keeps flying. You take rounds through the wings, through the fuselage, sometimes through the engine, and you still make it home. The P-47 is built like a vault. Its radial engine can absorb punishment that liquid-cooled engines cannot. One pilot lands with half a wing missing. Another brings his plane home with an engine cylinder blown clean off. The nickname Flying Coffin begins to change meaning. Now it is not about how you die. It is about how you refuse to. But the real shock comes when the Americans change tactics. You start hunting, not just escorting bombers, destroying German fighters before they even reach them. On August 24, 1943, you spot a lone Bf-109 climbing below you. You roll inverted. The altimeter spins. The airspeed needle creeps toward redline. 1,500 yards, 1,200 yards, 900 yards. You fire. The German pilot never sees you. Another kill. By the end of the year, the Luftwaffe is bleeding experienced pilots faster than it can replace them. Young replacements die in weeks. The veterans begin to avoid combat. Then comes the second transformation. Ground attack. When the Allies land in Normandy in June 1944, the Thunderbolt becomes something else entirely. A flying hammer. You load bombs, rockets, napalm. You fly low. So low you can see faces on the ground. Rail yards explode. Tanks burn. Convoys vanish in dust and smoke. German soldiers learn a new sound. The deep, terrifying growl of a radial engine diving straight at them. They call it Der Jabo, the fighter bomber. And they fear it more than artillery. At one point, German command issues orders for troops to freeze under Thunderbolt attack. Running only draws fire. You survive hits that would kill any other pilot. You land with holes the size of fists punched through your aircraft. By war's end, the statistics are undeniable. The P-47 racks up an air-to-air kill ratio of 19-1. 19 enemy aircraft destroyed for every Thunderbolt lost in combat. The Flying Coffin has become a nightmare. And right here, after that realization sinks in, what the Luftwaffe does not understand at first is that this plane changes the war in ways no single dogfight ever could. Because air superiority is not about elegance. Another kill. By the end of the year, the Luftwaffe is bleeding experienced pilots faster than it can replace them. Young replacements die in weeks. The veterans begin to avoid combat. Then comes the second transformation. Ground attack. When the Allies land in Normandy in June 1944, the Thunderbolt becomes something else entirely. A flying hammer. You load bombs, rockets, napalm. You fly low. So low you can see faces on the ground. Rail yards explode. Tanks burn. Convoys vanish in dust and smoke. German soldiers learn a new sound. The deep, terrifying growl of a radial engine diving straight at them. They call it Der Jabo, the fighter bomber. And they fear it more than artillery. At one point, German command issues orders for troops to freeze under Thunderbolt attack. Running only draws fire. You survive hits that would kill any other pilot. You land with holes the size of fists punched through your aircraft. By war's end, the statistics are undeniable. The P-47 racks up an air-to-air kill ratio of 19-1. 19 enemy aircraft destroyed for every Thunderbolt lost in combat. The Flying Coffin has become a nightmare. And right here, after that realization sinks in, what the Luftwaffe does not understand at first is that this plane changes the war in ways no single dogfight ever could. Because air superiority is not about elegance. It is about doing what the enemy refuses to believe is possible. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Francis Gabreski and the men of the 56th Fighter Group do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.